Welcome to the YouTube channel, Contact Center Knowledge Hub, your one-stop solution for expert guidance, best practices, and actionable knowledge in the world of contact centers. Explore, learn, and enhance contact center skills. Let's see analytical most important questions of Delphi forecasting method. Let's see question 1. Why is Delphi more reliable than a simple average of expert opinions in call center forecasting? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. A simple average treats all expert inputs as equal numbers. It captures no reasoning, no refinement, and no correction for bias. In contrast, the Delphi method is more reliable for several key reasons. First, Delphi identifies outliers and helps reduce the influence of extreme or biased estimates. Second, it forces experts to justify their assumptions, not just provide numbers. Third, Delphi operates in progressive rounds, where feedback and reflection naturally narrow disagreement over time. Fourth, consensus in Delphi emerges from shared explanations and logic, not just arithmetic averaging. Fifth, the method uses anonymity, which reduces hierarchy pressure and prevents dominant voices from skewing the forecast. And finally, Delphi focuses on forecast drivers, such as average handle time, campaign impact, repeat contacts, and customer sentiment, rather than only the final output numbers. The analytical takeaway is simple. Delphi converges toward a reasoned, evidence-backed forecast, not an arithmetic shortcut. That is why Delphi forecasting delivers higher credibility, stronger governance, and better operational decisions in call center environments. Next question is, how does the Delphi method help uncover hidden operational risks in call centers? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. Let's now explore how the Delphi method helps surface operational and business risks in call center forecasting. Experts participating in Delphi often come from different functional lenses: operations, workforce management, training, quality, and client subject matter experts. This diversity is critical. Delphi surfaces risks because experts are required to explain why they believe volumes or average handle time will increase or decrease. These explanations often reveal hidden or emerging issues, such as expected repeat calls due to broken or unclear processes, skill gaps or longer learning curves following new hires or process changes, user interface changes that create customer confusion, policy rollouts that trigger sudden contact spikes, and marketing misalignment, where customer expectations don't match service readiness. Additionally, the cross-functional nature of Delphi exposes interdependencies across the value chain. For example, issues in billing may spill into collections, which then increase pressure on customer service. The analytical takeaway is this: Delphi acts as a risk detection tool, not just a forecasting tool. By capturing expert reasoning, not just numbers, Delphi enables proactive risk mitigation, smarter staffing, and stronger operational control. Next question is, why does including experts from multiple functions, OPS, WFM, QA, training, client, improve Delphi accuracy? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. Each function views customer demand through a different lens. Workforce management looks at demand from a mathematical and volume pattern perspective. Operations focuses on frontline realities that can increase average handle time or drive repeat calls. Quality teams identify compliance gaps and error risks that often create additional contacts. Training teams assess agent readiness, ramped-up time, and learning curves, which directly impact productivity and HT. Client subject matter experts bring insight into the product or policy drivers behind customer behavior. This functional diversity delivers three critical benefits. First, it prevents single-source bias, where one viewpoint dominates the forecast. Second, it captures multidimensional demand drivers that pure team forecasts often miss. Third, it builds a forecast that accounts for operational, behavioral, and product-driven variables together. The analytical takeaway is clear. Delphi becomes accurate because it blends multiple realities of demand, not just data. That is why cross-functional participation is essential for high-confidence, real-world forecasting. Next question is, why does Delphi work better than machine learning during new launches or policy changes? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. Machine learning models rely heavily on historical data. They perform best when there are stable patterns, predictable seasonality, and recurring behavioral trends. However, during new launches or policy change, conditions no longer hold. Historical data becomes irrelevant. Customer behavior turns unpredictable. The impact is judgment-based, not pattern-based. And customer emotion, marketing messages, and external factors dominate demand. The Delphi method becomes more effective. Delphi leverages expert insight to anticipate what data cannot yet show. Experts can assess expected customer confusion, channel shifts, such as voice moving to chat, the likely impact time, and the risk of backlog or spike-driven overloads. The analytical takeaway is this. Delphi fills the gap when data is missing, immature, or misleading, making it the preferred forecasting approach for unprecedented situations like new launches and changes. In these moments, expert judgment outperforms algorithms. Next question is, how does Delphi help reduce forecast bias in high-visibility call center scenarios? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. Let's examine how the Delphi method reduces forecast bias, especially in high-visibility call center scenarios. Forecast bias commonly arises from several human factors. These include overconfidence, fear of being wrong, leadership influence, anchoring on past numbers, and broader political or organizational pressure. The Delphi method is specifically designed to counter these biases. First, Delphi keeps expert inputs anonymous, which removes ego and hierarchy from the process. Second, it uses multiple iterations, allowing weak logic to be challenged and stripped away over time. Third, Delphi evaluates rationales and explanations, not job titles or seniority. Fourth, it prevents dominant from steering the forecast in one direction. And finally, it highlights patterns of consistency across experts, which strengthens confidence in the final output. The analytical takeaway is clear. Delphi transforms subjective judgment into objective consensus, significantly reducing emotional, political, and hierarchical bias. That is why Delphi is especially effective in high-stakes, high-visibility forecasting environments. Next question is, how can Delphi forecasting identify nonlinear relationships in call center behavior? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. Nonlinear behavior occurs when small changes create disproportionately large impacts. Here are some common examples. A 10% increase in marketing spend may trigger a 50% surge in calls. A minor product change may cause a large spike in repeat calls. An increased chat concurrency may lead to an unexpected drop in voice volume, rather than a smooth substitution. Traditional models often struggle with these patterns because they assume proportional relationships. Delphi overcomes this expert experience. Experts recognize these nonlinear effects because they have seen similar events before. They understand customer behavior patterns that are not visible in raw data. And they know the internal friction points, such as broken flows, policy gaps, or system amplify demand beyond linear expectations. The analytical takeaway is this. Delphi captures complex, non-proportional behavioral patterns that algorithms often miss. This makes Delphi especially powerful in volatile, change-driven call center environments. Next question is, what analytical value does variance reduction across rounds provide in Delphi? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. Variance is a direct signal of disagreement among experts. In the early rounds of Delphi, higher variance is expected because assumptions, perspectives, and risk interpretations differ. As the Delphi process progresses, several healthy signals variance should consistently reduce. Outliers should decline or disappear. Forecast ranges should tighten. And underlying assumptions should begin to align. When we observe a sharp drop in variance, it implies several important things. Around the key demand drivers. Experts are reaching agreement on assumptions. Overall uncertainty is reducing. And the forecast is becoming more reliable and stable. The analytical takeaway is this. Variance reduction is the strongest in convergence and forecast stability. It tells us that the forecast is no longer just a collection of opinions, but a well-reasoned, aligned, and defensible consensus. Next question is, why is it important that Delphi captures not just the final forecast but also the reasoning behind it? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. The reasoning is where the real value lies. Expert explanations expose customer pain points that actually generate calls. They reveal anticipated failure modes, such as billing errors, application glitches, or broken processes. Expected shifts between channels, for example from self-service to voice, or from voice to chat. They surface behavioral changes driven by external events, such as policy announcements, outages, or marketing campaigns. And they uncover hidden complexity that can increase time, even if volumes appear stable. Without this reasoning, a forecast is just a number. It tells you what might happen, but not why it will happen, or how to prepare for it. The analytical takeaway is this. Delphi explanations transform a forecast input. They enable workforce management to build accurate capacity plans, design targeted training, set staffing buffers, and implement risk mitigation plans before issues hit production. That's why Delphi forecasting is not just it's about preparedness. Next question is, what happens if the experts continue to disagree even after 3 to 4 Delphi rounds? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. Persistent disagreement is not a failure of the Delphi method. It is a signal. It indicates that key forecast drivers remain uncertain. It suggests there are information gaps that cannot yet be closed. It tells us that certainty is high. And it often means that customer behavior cannot be reliably predicted using a single point estimate. When this happens, the right response is to change the planning approach. Instead of forcing false consensus, teams should take specific action steps. Shift to scenario-based forecasting, using best case, most likely, and worst case outcomes. Second, build staffing buffers to absorb volatility. Third, increase real-time monitoring to detect early deviations. And finally, schedule intraday reform plans can be adjusted quickly. The analytical takeaway is this. High disagreement is a signal to move from deterministic planning to risk-based scenario planning. Delphi doesn't just tell you the answer, it tells you when certainty does not yet exist. Next question is, why does Delphi outperform leadership-driven forecasting during crisis, outages, recalls, policy shock? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. Leadership-driven forecasts often suffer from several predictable limitations. They are prone to optimism bias. They reflect a limited operational perspective. They are influenced by pressure to meet targets or calm stakeholders. Often lack real-time, field-level data. The Delphi method avoids these pitfalls by design. It systematically collects ground-level evidence from those closest to the work. It integrates cross-functional insights from operations, WFM, quality, training, and it captures operational complexity, including bottlenecks, failure modes, and recovery constraints. And it surfaces customer intent indicators, such as confusion, frustration, or urgency. As a result, experts who are closest to both the customer and operational process provide realistic scenarios, not optimistic guesses. The analytical takeaway is clear. Delphi outperforms leadership-driven forecasting because it is evidence-driven, not authority-driven. In crisis situations, realism beats reassurance, and Delphi delivers realism. Next question is, how does Delphi help distinguish between actual customer demand versus operational noise? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. Experts participating in Delphi come from workforce management, operations, quality, and client teams. Together, they assess whether expected volume changes are driven by true customer demand or by internal operational issues. Customers typically include product launches, policy changes, marketing campaigns, social media sentiment, and billing cycles. On the other hand, operational noise often comes from system slowness or training gaps, quality issues, and staff underperformance. Delphi's structured rounds require experts to justify their assumptions. They must explain whether a forecasted increase is caused by external customer behavior, inefficiencies that should be fixed, not staffed. The analytical takeaway is this. Delphi helps isolate true demand signals from internal operational disturbances. That distinction is critical because demand should be forecasted, but operational noise should be corrected. Next question is, how does Delphi improve forecasting accuracy during channel shifts, voice chat, WhatsApp? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. Channel shift forecasting is especially difficult because historical patterns may not exist yet. Customer behavior is evolving, and data often lags reality. This is where expert insight becomes critical. Experts can anticipate expected deflection rates from voice to digital channels, Customer preference for chat or WhatsApp during application issues or outages. Increases in chat concurrency during promotions or campaigns. And reductions in voice calls as improves. The Delphi method brings these insights together in a structured way. It helps teams estimate the channel mix, predict cross-channel substitution, identify concurrency impacts, and adjust volume assumptions as behavior changes. The analytical takeaway is this. Delphi converts qualitative behavioral shifts into quantified forecast inputs. That's why Delphi is especially powerful for managing demand in rapidly evolving omnichannel environments. Next question is, why is Delphi more effective than a single SME forecast during high uncertainty periods? Think for a moment. A single SME forecast reflects only one person's experience, their individual bias, their limited viewpoint, and their potential blind spots. Even the best expert sees the problem from only one angle. The Delphi method improves accuracy together multiple independent expert sources, each with a different perspective. This creates several important advantages. First, assumptions are challenged rather than accepted at face value. Second, blind spots are identified and corrected through cross-examination. Third, diverse operational and customer realities are captured, not just one narrative. Fourth, individual biases tend to cancel each other out instead of compounding. And finally, Delphi enables evidence triangulation, where multiple signals point to the. The analytical takeaway is this. Delphi produces a more balanced, multidimensional forecast than any single SME can deliver on their own. That is why Delphi is especially valuable when uncertainty is high and decisions are critical. Next question is, how does the Delphi method support capacity planning in situations with incomplete or poor quality data? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. When historical data is inconsistent, missing, or unreliable, traditional models struggle. This is where expert judgment becomes essential. Through the Delphi process, experts help fill data gaps by providing expected time based on interaction complexity, likely volume ranges, rather than fragile single-point estimates, campaign-driven uplifts based on past launches or comparable events, anticipated repeat call behavior due to process or policy complexity, behavioral patterns drawn from similar industries or markets. These structured expert inputs enable workforce management teams to take concrete action. They can build volume scenarios, such as best, likely, and worst case. Determine staff absorb uncertainty. Preposition skills where complexity is expected to rise. Design flexible schedules that can adapt quickly. And prepare real-time escalation plans for early deviations. The analytical takeaway is this. Delphi transforms poor quality data into actionable staffing insights. It allows capacity planning to move forward confidently, even when the data alone is not enough. Next question is, how can WFM evaluate whether additional Delphi rounds are needed? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. WFM should evaluate several key indicators after each round. First, look at the variance across expert estimates. High variance signals unresolved disagreement. Second, check the spread or range between the highest. A wide range indicates uncertainty. Third, assess the quality of expert rationales. Are explanations logical, evidence-based, and consistent, or vague and speculative? Fourth, examine stability across rounds. Continue to shift significantly from one round to the next, convergence has not yet occurred. And finally, evaluate expert confidence. If experts still express uncertainty or hedge heavily, more refinement is needed. If variance remains high, ranges are wide, signals are weak, another Delphi round is required. The analytical takeaway is this. Delphi rounds should continue when uncertainty outweighs clarity. Not simply because a fixed number of rounds has been completed. Effective Delphi governance is driven by not by the calendar. Next question is, how does the Delphi method help identify the root causes of disagreement in forecasting assumptions? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. Experts often disagree not because one is right and another is wrong, but because their underlying assumptions differ. These differences may relate to customer behavior, the impact of marketing, channel preferences, seasonality patterns, process complexity, agent ramped up or training time, expected error or rework rates, or technology and system performance. The Delphi method addresses this through structured explanation rounds. Instead of only collecting revised numbers, Delphi requires experts to explain why they changed or did not change their estimates. This process makes the sources of disagreement visible. It reveals whether experts are reacting to different customer assumptions, different operational constraints, or different interpretations of risk. Once these root causes are surfaced, Delphi enables teams to take corrective action. They can resolve misinformation, challenge flawed assumptions, align cross-functional understanding, and ultimately improve forecast quality. The analytical takeaway is this. In Delphi, disagreement becomes a source of insight, not a barrier. By exposing the why behind the numbers, Delphi turns conflicting opinions into learning and alignment. Next question is, what analytical benefit does Delphi provide during major organizational or policy changes? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. Major changes introduce high uncertainty because customer reaction is not yet known. Traditional models struggle when behavior has no historical precedent. The Delphi method addresses this by gathering diverse expert feedback on likely customer impacts. Experts help anticipate expected customer confusion or panic, potential surges in billing disputes, a drop in trust that leads to increased contact volume, new process failure points, and digital ads as customers adapt. These insights allow the organization to prepare proactively. Teams can plan for surge staffing during peak uncertainty, failover routing to protect service continuity, extended operating hours, skills or team segmentation, and targeted training reinforcements. The analytical takeaway is this. Delphi acts as an early warning system, transforming uncertainty into preparedness. Instead of reacting to change, organizations using Delphi are ready for it. Next question is, how can Delphi results be used alongside statistical forecasting to create hybrid models? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. Let's look at how Delphi forecasting can be combined with statistical models to create a hybrid forecasting approach. each method brings a different strength. The Delphi method contributes human insight. It captures behavioral projections, expectations around new processes or policy changes, and scenario ranges such as best case, most likely, and worst case. Statistical forecasting, on the other hand, provides data-driven structure. It identifies trend lines, detects seasonality, ensures pattern consistency, analyzes cycles, and produces objective error metrics. Hybrid forecasting intentionally blends these strengths. In practice, Delphi is used for new or disruptive events where data is weak or misleading. Statistical models are used for stable, repeatable patterns. Delphi uplift percentages are layered onto baseline statistical forecasts. And Delphi-driven overrides are applied when historical data no longer reflects reality. The analytical takeaway is this. Hybrid forecasting delivers the best of both worlds, data plus judgment. By combining algorithms with expert insight, organizations improve accuracy, reduce risk, and make more resilient planning decisions. Next question is, how does the Delphi method help quantify uncertainty when forecasting for high-impact events like product recalls or outages? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. High-impact events create wide uncertainty envelopes because customer reactions are unpredictable and often emotional. Single-point forecasts are risky in these situations. The Delphi method helps quantify uncertainty in several structured ways. First, it collects expert estimates with confidence ranges, using minimum and maximum values instead of just one number. Second, it analyzes the spread across expert estimates, which reveals the level of uncertainty. Third, it converts qualitative expectations, like panic, confusion, or distrust, into quantified uplift percentages. Fourth, it explicitly identifies worst-case surge scenarios rather than assuming average behavior. And fifth, it highlights assumptions that may exaggerate or understate the impact, allowing them to be challenged and refined. These quantified uncertainty signals allow workforce management teams to take concrete action. They can build best case, most likely, and worst case forecast bands. They can design flexible staffing strategies instead of fixed plans. And they can proactively prepare overtime, cross-skilling, and real-time routing adjustments. The analytical takeaway is this. Delphi transforms uncertain, emotion-driven event predictions into structured, risk-based forecast ranges, replacing a single fragile number with a resilient planning framework. Next question is, how can Delphi outputs help determine which operational metrics, AHT, FCR, issue rate, repeat calls, will influence volume the most? Think for a moment. And the answer is here. The key value of Delphi lies not just in the final numbers, but in the reasoning behind each expert's forecast. As experts explain their assumptions, workforce management can analyze those explanations to identify which drivers are expected to shift the most. For example, an operations expert may say, average handle time will increase by 20% due to system slowness. A quality expert may explain, repeat calls will rise because agents are not fully trained on the new script. A client subject matter expert may note, first call resolution will drop initially due to unclear policy wording. And a training expert may add, ramp-up time is longer, so early errors and rework may spike. These explanations allow WFM to translate qualitative insight into quantitative impact. For instance, A drop in FCR directly increases repeat contact volume. A rise in AHT causes queue buildup, which creates perceived volume pressure. A higher issue rate leads to more troubleshooting and longer handle times. And lower agent proficiency slows speed to proficiency, reducing effective capacity. The analytical takeaway is this: Delphi doesn't just produce a volume forecast, it identifies the operational levers driving that volume. This enables targeted mitigation actions, such as focused training, process fixes, knowledge base updates, or system stabilization, before volume and service levels are impacted. Thanks for watching my YouTube channel, Contact Center Knowledge Hub. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights. See you in the next video.